Hi, I'm Mipsy, and today I'll be performing Read to Me, which is based upon the story The Beast You've Made Me, which, in itself, is a fanfic of Deltarune. This fic wouldn't have been possible without the skilled writing and boundless creativity of I Want a Coffee and Toby Fox, respectively. Please do not train AI on my works. Rating: General Audiences. Archive Warnings. No archive warnings apply. Category: Gen. Fandoms: Deltarune, video game. Undertale, video game. Relationships: Asgore Dreamer and Tenna, Deltarune, Deltarune, and Tenna's mother. Characters: Tenna, Deltarune, Asgore Dreamer, Tenna's mother. Additional tags: Alternate universe, medieval, autistic coded Tenna, blind characters, bonding, disability, fanfic of a fanfic, learning to spell, inspired by the beast you've made me, mother-son bonding moment, pre-canon, reading, teaching, Tenna's a monster, Undertale AU. Summary. Alright, I'm going to hold on to your claw and guide it in the shape of the letter. Let me know when you're ready. And led one of his claws under hers. I'm ready. Lady Tenna traced his hand into shape. This is a capital A. Capital A, Tenna repeated. Little Tenna, owing to his disability, has never been taught to read. His best friend, Asgore, wants to practice his reading to impress a pretty girl. Narration ensues. Eventually, Tenna's mom realizes that she's neglected her son's education and does her best to teach him with the tools that she has available in the medieval world in which they live. This fic is based on The Beast You've Made Me by I Want a Coffee. If you are 18 plus, go read his fic first. Cover art description. A picture frame filled with sand is placed upon a wooden table. The words, Read to Me by Mipsy, based upon The Beast You've Made Me by I_want_a_coffee, have been traced onto it by hand. A child-sized white hand with claws hovers over the final E in the bottom right-hand corner. Another hand rests on the left side of the frame, held comfortingly by a larger-sized hand wearing a royal purple glove. Read to me. Mama! Mama! Aunt came running into the drawing room, but froze when he noticed company. He straightened his back and gave a bow. He sensed fidgeting on the sofa, and the shape of his dear friend Asgore's weight as it shifted against the cushions. A gentle movement as if someone was tapping a shoulder was followed by a faint whisper in an ear, and then, Yes, honey, you can go and play. Asgore jumped up, elated to be free of the boredom of a stupid, state-related visit. He raced over to Aunt, soft paws making nary a sound upon the floor. You have no idea how glad I am to see you, Asgore beamed, pulling Aunt out into the hallway. You're not just saying that because I got you out of a call? Aunt teased. Asgore gave a hearty chuckle. Wrapping his arm around Aunt's back and pulling him into a half-hug. Well, that too, but I missed you, Aunt, he beamed. So, what do you want to do today? Aunt asked. Since you're the visitor, it's my job to entertain you. Asgore stuck out his tongue. I'm supposed to be working on my reading. There's this really, He looked from side to side before pulling Tenna off into an alcove. There's this really pretty girl. Really pretty. You'd have to see her to believe it, Aunt. He froze for a moment, realizing what he just said. I mean, she's resplendent. It's hard to capture in words. Like she's got really soft fur, not that I've ever touched it, and she's got a gentleness to her movements, like she's got a kind heart inside. She's really nice. Her name's Toriel. She's a lady or something. And get this, she's a boss monster. She sounds nice, Gory. If Asgore was this enthused about her, she had to be. Yeah, well, the thing is, she's really good at books and stuff. I want to impress her, so I need to work on my reading. The most expensive tutors that money could buy couldn't inspire Asgore to read, but this girl could? Man, Asgore really was head over heels. That's very noble of you. Yeah, so, do you think we could go to your folks' library, maybe borrow a book or two? But I don't want anyone knowing I'm reading them. Maybe we could go hide somewhere or something. Tenna scrunched up his nose in teasing disapproval. All right, but I get to choose the book. Asgore grinned. Sure thing. The two of them snuck into the library, doing their best to avoid the watchful eyes of two perceptive servants. Asgore's stay was delightful, and thankfully none too brief. The two of them spent most of their days lurking out of sight, out of mind, Asgore reading fairy tales in hushed tones to Aunt. For being such a big, burly fellow, Asgore had a surprisingly soft voice. "I really appreciate you reading to me," Aunt thanked once. "It's no problem. Thank you for helping me practice my reading," Asgore had replied, like it was no big deal. "It means a lot." Aunt didn't know how to put how much this meant to him into words, so he didn't attempt to try. It was easy to forget all the inconveniences of the world when he was with Asgore. It was amazing to have a friend that he could call his equal, who he didn't have to act overly formal with. Asgore made him feel normal. "Do you want me to finish the 12 Brothers or not?" Asgore wasn't always the best at communicating when it came to serious feelings. He redirected away from the topic at hand. Aunt nodded, ducking back further into the velvet curtains of the music room. "Yeah! Then after this, you can read me The White Cat. Read on, oh skilled orator," he encouraged. Asgore gave a thumbs up, happy with the compliment, before returning to the text. Hidden beneath a raised bed in the greenhouse, Asgore laid flat on his stomach, book on the floor in front of him. Aunt lay on the ground beside him, enjoying the muggy warmth of the air and the mix of scents that serenaded his antennae. It was the perfect way to spend a late winter's day, still too cold to play comfortably outside, or it would be if they weren't all squished up to avoid being seen through the huge glass windows. "The only thing that could make this better is a warm cup of tea," Aunt mused. Asgore gave a sound of agreement before continuing with the text. The next thing Aunt knew, a claw had snagged underneath the collar of his shirt, and he was pulled out from underneath the planter. "And what, pray tell, are you two doing skulking about?" "Darn it!" The jig was up. "Hey, Mum," Aunt greeted casually. "Hey, Mrs. Tenna." One of her other claws had wrapped around Asgore's leg. "I mean, Lady Tenna." "You two have been suspiciously absent. What are you hiding?" "Nothing," Asgore immediately replied. Lady Tenna made it clear that she did not, in fact, believe that. "We were enjoying the greenhouse," Aunt added meekly. "For the last week." Aunt's antennae shifted, uncomfortable. "We've been hanging out." "Yeah, we really like spending time together," Asgore corroborated. "I see." Lady Tenna was leaving her responses short and concise, like she was trying to trick them into telling more than they wanted to in order to fill the silence. Aunt didn't bite. Neither did Asgore. "All right, then. Is it all right if I join you?" Asgore realized that they were caught in a trap. "Sure. It's really nice out here." Yeah, it's really nice out here," Aunt agreed. Lady Tenna let them both free and situated herself on the floor of the greenhouse, skirts billowing out around her. "Your clothes look dirty, Mama," Aunt pointed out considerately. "That's all right, my little parasite," she soothed, patting her skirts down around her. "I don't mind. I have more clothes. It's worth it to spend time with my son and his friend." Aunt did not like the way that she said friend. It didn't sound like she was implying friendship. He climbed back underneath the raised grow bed, and Asgore followed suit. It wasn't exactly the most comfortable position, but they had to act like they'd been sitting this way on purpose, and not to hide from any gardeners. Aunt, Asgore, and Lady Tenna sat in awkward silence for a good 15 minutes before Asgore finally got bored and broke. "We're reading." "Reading?" Lady Tenna tilted her head. "Why would you feel the need to hide that?" "We're not hiding anything," Asgore replied. "Yeah, we just like quiet places," Aunt improvised. "It makes it easier to enjoy stories when there isn't any background noise." That was technically true, actually. There was something with a faint but pleasing woody smell next to Asgore, but it was hard to place amongst all the other scents of the greenhouse. "Would you mind reading to me too, Asgore? I do so love a good story." Asgore hesitated. "You promise you won't laugh at me?" "I promise I won't laugh," Lady Tenna reassured. "I like stories." Asgore opened the book, continuing where he left off. The The king heaved a deep sigh and turning to his children said, "Nothing pleases me in my old age so much as your deferment." Asgore struggled on the word. "Deference?" Lady Tenna suggested. "Deference! Yes, that's it! Deference!" Asgore clapped. "Nothing pleases me in my old age so much as your deference to my desires, and I wish to prove you once more. Travel for a year, and he who at the end of the year brings me the most beautiful girl shall marry her, and be crowned king on his marriage. I promise you that I will not defer this reward any longer." As Ant's fears subsided and he became lost once again in the world of the story, his limbs began to ache. He crawled back out from underneath the raised grow bed and situated himself halfway on his mother's skirts, using her lap as a pillow. So what if he looked like a mama's boy? Asgore wouldn't tease him about it. Plus, Ant had secrets to hold over him, so Gory wouldn't tell. Asgore crawled out from beneath the planter as well and sat down beside Lady Tenna and Ant. After a while, he got caught on another word. "Hey, Lady Tenna, what's this word mean?" He pointed at it. "Can you spell it out?" she suggested. "Why can't you just say it for—" "Oh!" He glanced between Ant and Lady Tenna. "So you can't read either?" His voice carried sadness. "I know my letters. I just can't see them, Asgore," she clarified. "Spell the word out, and I can tell you how it's said." "Oh, all right." It must have been very difficult to go through life without being able to read written words. F-E-T-E-S. Fate. It's pronounced like fate, as in, you can't escape your fate, but it's a type of party. "Thanks. I'll go back a little. The marriage was at once celebrated, also that of the other two princes, and in such a manner that the court spent several months in fetes of all sorts." All too soon the story was finished. "Why don't you go back inside and pick out another book from the library?" Lady Tenna suggested. "I, can't." "Why not?" Asgore beat around the bush. I need to stay out here." "What do you need out here, Asgore?" "Hey, Mama, can I talk to you alone for a second?" Lady Tenna twitched her antennae. "All right. Don't go getting into trouble, Asgore." She moved to stand up, Asgore quickly moving off of her skirt, and Ant raising himself from her lap. She let Ant lead her out of the greenhouse, holding onto her claw until they were in the garden. Once they were back into public view, Ant dropped her claw, too self-conscious of being seen as a mama's boy to continue the touch. "I'm embarrassed about the fact that I can't read, and so I asked Asgore to keep it a secret," he lied, coming up with a believable half-truth in order to avoid blowing Gory's cover. Lady Tenna dropped down to her knees, pulling Ant in for a hug. "I'm sorry, my son." Ant hugged her back. "It's not your fault, Mama. Our way of seeing the world was passed down through my bloodline, my sweet parasite. What from any other pair of mandibles would have been an insult was instead a term of endearment, sort of like trash heap or hoochie mama. It was the intent behind the words that mattered, not the literal words spoken, though that was always a concept that Ant struggled with. He'd never been particularly good at picking up on sarcasm or metaphors. "I wouldn't have it any other way, Mama. I'm glad that you're my mother." "I'm glad that you're my son, Ant." She pressed him closer. "Even though it's my fault that you're gonna die someday?" "Darling, for the 100th time, it's not your fault. I chose to have you. It's very sweet of you to care so much, and I'm grateful that you're growing up to be such a kind-hearted, considerate boy. But sometimes you beat yourself up too much, metaphorically speaking." "But I'm gonna be really sad when you're gone, Mama." It was Ant's fault that she'd pass away. The only reason that she was aging was because her magic was feeding his growth. "That's very sweet, Ant, and I love you very much. However, I need you to be brave, okay? I'm not dying anytime soon. You'll have time enough to mourn me when I'm actually in my grave, all right? So for right now, let's cherish your childhood together, okay, my parasite?" "I'll be brave for you, Mama," Ant promised, Since you're gonna die someday, I want to make you proud. What was she going to do about her son's tendency to take things all too literally? Aunt really was a sweet child, but Lady Tenna was a bit worried about how he'd be in the future. If he grew up to be so kind-hearted, so blissfully trusting, and so literal in his thinking, he was sure to get taken advantage of. He had too kind of a soul for this world. Good, my son. You're going to grow up to be lord over a whole town someday, so you'll need to get used to responsibility and self-reliance. You're going to be a great leader, and with that comes hard decisions. But for right now, you've still got me, and I'll help you until you're ready to stand firm on your own. Thanks, Mama. I can teach you your letters if you'd like, she suggested, pulling back from the embrace. I learned to spell on sand with touch. I could teach you via the same method. Really? I'd like that very much. Aunt squeezed his mother's arm one last time before letting go of her entirely. We've got some lovely imported sand in the portrait gallery, she recollected. It was a gift from an emissary. It's supposed to be red, but I cannot say. It just feels like sand to me. Aunt gave a slight giggle before straightening his back. There weren't actually any servants around right now, but appearances mattered. Acting the part was how monsters knew you were the part. Can we do this somewhere private? Aunt asked, self-consciously. Of course, Aunt. She refrained from rubbing the top of his head, even though she wanted to. I'll fetch a picture frame and the sand and bring them to your room. Why don't you go say goodbye to Asgore? He's been invited to dine with the Lady Toriel and won't be available for the rest of the afternoon. Aunt brought his claws together enthusiastically. Lady Toriel? I don't believe you two have met. Lady Tenna tilted her head slightly. How do you two know each other? Aunt scurried away. I just remembered. Asgore left the tea kettle on in the greenhouse. What was Lady Tenna going to do with him? Aunt was a truly terrible liar, but that didn't stop him from trying. Aunt was situated on a bench in his room, his gaster hanging comfortably off the back, unencumbered by backrest. A sturdy, dustless table sat in front of him. His mother carried a picture frame and a glass bottle in her arms, carefully closing the door and locking it behind her, before returning the key to her chatelaine. I've brought the goods. She situated the empty wooden frame in front of Aunt upon the table, before uncorking the bottle and emptying all the fine, expensive contents inside of it. Won't this be difficult to clean up? Sometimes the experience is worth the mess, she shared the bit of wisdom. Life's too short to squirrel every item away for a rainy day. I'd rather make memories with the one that I love than save sand for eternity. Aunt gave a little laugh, reaching his claw into the tray to touch it. It feels rough, less like an object or objects and more like water. But the opposite of water. Mm-hmm. Quite right, my son, Lady Tenna verified. All right, I'm going to hold onto your claw and guide it in the shape of the letter. Let me know when you're ready. Aunt let one of his claws under hers. I'm ready. Lady Tenna traced his hand in a shape. This is a capital A. Capital A, Tenna repeated. Let's draw it together again, she suggested. Okay, Mama. They traced the letters together, Lady Tenna's claw guiding Aunt's, until he was confident that the shape of his letter had been correct. Slowly but surely, through the whole of the afternoon, they worked on Aunt's capital letters. The trouble came when the alphabet was completed, and Aunt had to work on repeating them all back. I'm afraid that these haven't all stuck in my memory, he admitted, feeling ashamed. It's hard to remember all of them, Lady Tenna reassured. It takes some children weeks to learn them all, and that's with the help of flashcards. But I'm already much older than other children were when they learned theirs. I'm ashamed that I didn't think to teach you this way earlier. How had it slipped her mind for so long? I'd forgotten about this method until this afternoon. It's been... Oh, how time flew. How many centuries had it been since she was a child? A long time since I used this method of spelling. Thank you for teaching me this technique. Of course, Aunt. I'm more than happy to. Will you keep teaching me until I figure it out? With stops for meals and other obligations. But yes, she clarified. If she promised without any caveats, he'd assume that she meant uninterrupted time. Thanks, Mama. He ran his claw through the sand again. Can you teach me how to do S again? I think I've got it confused with G. Of course. Now with S, you start with your claw in the upper right-hand corner, and then drag it to the left and down in a semicircle. When you reach the center of the letter, you wrap your claw down to a semicircle on the right, and then stop when you're on the bottom left. With a G, you start in the upper right as well, but you draw a semicircle all the way down to the bottom right, starting in the direction of left, and then you go up about halfway and add a little line going to the left towards the center of the letter, but not all the way there. Aunt followed her instructions. I think I've got it now. You never know when you'll need to use S and G, she encouraged. I'm proud of you for taking the initiative to learn, even though it's hard. You're not mad at me for being a slow learner? No. She brushed a claw over the top of his head, petting his fur. I'm proud of you for persevering, even when the task at hand is difficult. That's a trait that'll take you far in life. Aunt chirped in delight. You really think so, Mama? Yes, Aunt. I'm very proud of you, she soothed. You're a smart boy, Aunt. I'm proud to have you as my son. You're a great mother, Mama. He wrapped his lower claws around her body, pulling her in for a hug. I love you, Aunt. Exactly the way that you are. I love you too, Mama. The end. Notes. This story was prompted by a request from I_want_a_coffee on his Discord that went as follows. Wait. Now we need a Tenna and his mama. Someone draw young Tenna with his beautiful Aunt Mother, Lady Tenna, or write a fic of them, I don't know. Please, I beg my friends. Which was followed up by, Mama Tenna is proper, but she's still sweet to Tenna. Maybe just a nice bonding moment. She taught him a lot. She was like his teacher, too. I hope that I've done his characters justice. This piece wouldn't have been fathomed without Mr. Coffee's work. Parasite as a nickname is the fault of Max, who kindly suggested it when I asked pet name suggestions for a mum to call her kid, without further context.